North Carolina Governor Josh Stein. Now, at the top of his press conference here, he was talking about the newly drawn maps there, the proposal out of North Carolina, the GOP saying that they are going to try to support President Trump in efforts to get more U.S. House seats out of the state, in line with what we've seen in Texas, with them getting 5 seats, potentially California countering with 5 seats of their own, redrawing an effort there. North Carolina, they're now attempting to get 1 extra seat. Now, right now, we're looking at a feed there of a Senate hearing taking place in North Carolina where they're talking about these newly drawn maps. And I just want to say really quickly before we go in there, it's just a little bit of significance. This will be at least the 3rd time that these maps have been redrawn within the last 2.5 years. It went from 7-7 Republican and Democrat U.S. seats, House seats in North Carolina back in 2022 to 10 out of 14 after a redraw in 2023 were Republican to 4 Democrat. And now their hope is that it would be 11 Republican seats out of 14, leaving Democrats with only 3 seats. The one in which they are currently attacking in this latest redraw would be the 1st district, where Representative Don Davis, who is in our viewing area, currently resides and last won that district for a second time with less than 2 percentage points there in North Carolina. So I just wanted to kind of set the stage as we go into this conversation, because one thing you might hear that was earlier asked was, how does was race considered? You heard one of the senators earlier say that. Was race considered in the redrawing of this map? And it was said no. That'll be an interesting question, because surely that is something that might be argued in court, that it goes against, it discriminates from voters in that area. But right now there is a Supreme Court hearing that took place last week that is specifically looking at a case out of Louisiana on whether or not race can even be considered in the redrawing of congressional maps, which many think will be a violation ultimately of the Voting Rights Act. So I just wanted to set the stage for how important this conversation is, both locally and nationally here in North Carolina. And with that, I will turn it over to this North Carolina Senate hearing.
Came in after I voted. Therefore, my vote was negated. As a citizen, as a voting citizen of North Carolina, I am angry. And you're going to do it again? I don't think so. Show some courage, stand up to the tyrant, vote no.
Let's see, thank you. Next is Hannah Gibbs. And just to remind the speakers that tell us who you're with before you speak.
Hi, I'm Hannah Gibbs, and I'm here as a citizen of North Carolina. I just want to say that North Carolina already has a sordid history of gerrymandering. This bill continues that history and takes away people's ability to peacefully express their political will. I implore the legislature to do better by their citizens and give us the opportunity to practice democracy peacefully via the ballot. Voting in favor of gerrymandering is a vote against citizens, against North Carolina, and against a peaceful democracy. Thank you.
Thank you. And then, so I forgot to tell the next speaker is, I think, Khalil DeThomas. And then after that would be Caitlin Metzger, I think.
My friend sitting next to me, her name was before mine on the list. Should I, Elena Sabero? Should I wait for her to speak?
No, I'm not necessarily going in order of signing.
Okay. I just didn't want to intrude. My name is Khalil D. Thomas. I'm with Democracy Out Loud. And I want to ask, have public comments been considered when you're looking at this map? Are you going to consider the public comments that were released such a short time ago? I know I commented. Bill sponsor said the majority of the landmass in North Carolina contains red voters, and Dems are concentrated in small areas. And I want to point out that if this were true, all of these gerrymandered maps, all of these districts would be the same size. They're not. You see little tiny districts in Wake and Mecklenburg. I want to say it's disingenuous to claim that race was not considered when computer crunching multitudes of data can easily manipulate data to address race without race being a unique category. Let's say the quiet part out loud. This is the Southern agenda. History will remember these votes. This is a racist map. Do Republicans believe that you all will continue to be electable when you don't listen to constituents? Be brave.
Next will be Caitlin Metzger and then Robert Uhl.
Good morning. I'm Caitlin Metzger of You Can Vote, and we are a nonpartisan organization that works year-round to make sure that voters know their rights. I'm here today to speak out against this process for a new congressional map. Generally, redistricting only is to happen in North Carolina for two reasons: a new census or a court order. Neither of those things is true today, and so I want to make sure that everyone understands that what we're doing is not normal, and this is not a normal activity for us to be doing in 2025. I also want to use the rest of my time to talk about what we're actually talking about, which is people, right? We're talking about congressional representation, or the lack thereof. We're talking about people who need access to services, families who need access to clean air, clean water, good nutrition, good schools. What we're talking about is North Carolinians and people who want to rely on their representatives. 2025 is an election year. We're talking about municipal government. And in my role at You Can Vote, we talk to students about what we're voting for. 2025 is when we vote for mayor and city council. This process should not be happening right now. Thank you.
Robert Uhl. Then next would be Greg Flynn.
Good morning. My name is Robert Uhl. I am from Raleigh and a resident of Wake County. I stand before you today vehemently against this redistricting plan. And based on what I've heard today, this scheme seems to have been put together by one elected official and some staff members without any consultation from any of his colleagues in the House or the Senate. That doesn't sound very democratic to me. Redistricting cheats the people of North Carolina out of anything that resembles fair representation. The plan would further erode North Carolinians' power to elect candidates of their choice. It flagrantly violates core principles of accountability and throws out the constitutional promise of equal representation. And it is another tool that is being applied to accomplish voter suppression, as it would help to keep the powerful in power at the expense of those with the least power. It makes more sense to me for the legislature to do what the people elected it to do, and that is to conduct business for the people and not conduct activities as ordered by a convicted felon. This partisan gerrymandering should be illegal, and it cheats the people, and I stand firmly against it. Thank you.
Next is Greg Flynn and then Cheryl Tung.
Greg Flynn, citizen, voter. This weekend, the president circulated a video of himself dropping excrement on American people. This is the God you worship, the dictator you appease, the king you would pander to. While thousands of North Carolina citizens are on track to lose health insurance, while civil rights guaranteed by the Constitution are now daily trampled on. No one is safe from his retributions, not even you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. A republic, if you can keep it, not to a felonious monarch in a gilded house on Pennsylvania Avenue. Are you monarchists? Are you not Republicans? Absolute power is corroding the republic. Just because you can legally eat everything at a buffet doesn't mean it's a good idea.
Next is Cheryl Tung, followed by Ron Osborne.
Good afternoon, members of the Senate Elections Committee. My name is Cheryl Tung, and I am speaking today on behalf of the League of Women Voters of North Carolina. 84% of North Carolinians across political parties say it's unacceptable for politicians to draw districts to help their own side win more seats. Yet here we are, again, facing another partisan redraw. The League of Women Voters has long opposed mid-decade redistricting unless required by court order, because it undermines stability, it confuses the voters, and erodes trust in our elections. Voters deserve consistency and fairness, not political manipulation. Instead of passing a budget or meeting the state's constitutional duty to provide every child with a sound basic education, this legislature has focused on protecting power. That is not serving constituents, it's serving a party. I urge you to restore transparency, fairness, integrity to redistricting and put voters, not politicians, first. North Carolinians deserve a democracy worthy of their trust. Thank you.
Ron Osborne, followed next will be Elena Severio.
My name is Ron Osborne. I'm from Alamance County. I'm a 13th generation North Carolinian. I came from my farm this morning, fed the animals, and was hoping to work on my barn, but it was more important to be here. And frankly, the manure is deeper in here than in my barnyard. The non-answers, the half-truths, and outright lies about the intent of this bill is disgusting. Where you can do what you want to do, but it's the same effect as poll taxes, grandfather laws, and literacy tests on the population. We're a 50-50 state, and it hurts Republicans too because it takes away the competitiveness, and nobody has a real choice in voting. In 2022, the data showed that 30% of North Carolinians didn't have a choice because it was such a skewed electorate. We can be 50-50 where everybody has a choice and we have moderate representatives and not what we have today. Thank you.
Elena Severio, and then Mark Laverin.
My name's Elena Severio. I am with Democracy Out Loud. I will leave the statistics to others, and I will speak from my heart, which is breaking today. I am dressed in black to match my mourning and to replicate the hearts of the legislators that decided to disenfranchise the black voters of District 1 with this proposed racist map, which is being submitted outside of the established norm timing and only undermines the people's belief in free and fair impartial elections. As per your description, Senator Heiss, the current resident of the White House approves of these changes. So it is clear and unambiguous that this map is bending the knee to an authoritarian leader who is a convicted felon, and you, sir, are on the wrong side of history. I can never fully understand the impact of what it is like being a black person in America. However, I do know I made a commitment to use my white privilege to stand in the gap and stop any harm I am able to, as I am doing here today. It is a clear manipulation of this voting district in the middle of what you agreed is a heavily populated black vote area. So I clearly call these changes as purely racial disenfranchisement, depriving people who have historically been stepped on by white domination of their chance to be heard. You are rigging the maps to hurt black people. It is shameful, undemocratic, and immoral. And there are no other words to describe it. Shame on you and your lack of humanity.
Next will be Mark Laverin, and then Libby Johnson.
My name is Reverend Mark Laverin. I'm the senior pastor of the First Calvary Baptist Church in Durham. As a man of the cloth, I have not come to ask you to do anything, for you all have shown that you are not going to listen to the people of North Carolina. So today I've come to issue a warning. Woe unto you who do evil and call evil good. Woe unto you who enrich the wealthy at the expense of the poor. Woe unto you who use the name of Jesus and hate justice. For the prophet Micah told us what the Lord requires of us, and that is to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with our God. And I've come merely as a person of the cloth to ask you to remember that you will not have to stand before Trump, but you will have to stand before a greater throne. And I pray, and what tragedy that would be, rather, to gain Trump's approval and lose your own soul. May God bless you, and may God have mercy on your souls. Whatever time I have, I yield it for a moment of silence for a death of democracy in the state of North Carolina.
Next is Libby Johnson, followed by Joseph Lazar.
I'm Libby Johnson, Democracy Out Loud representative. Today is about a tale of two sides that begs the question, which side are you on? On one side, there are those that seek to deny the power to hold collections of people across North Carolina the right to determine their future. I stand on the side of justice and love that strengthens the right of being representative and shaping futures. We, the people here and across North Carolina, are not blind to what's happening here. The weaponizing of redistricting. Redistricting has always been about keeping the powerful in power at the expense of those with the least power, the people of color, the marginalized. This is about racism. Stop messing with our maps. Stop creating racist maps. Let the people decide.
Joseph Lazar, followed by Amy Van Wyk.
Hello, Joseph Lazar. I'm not here with any organization. I am well aware that there is probably nothing that I can say or that anyone else here can say to change your minds and to convince you not to pass these maps. But let me remind you that we still don't have a budget. Our teachers and law enforcement are still not getting paid what they're supposed to. Yet you find time to redraw these maps to steal more seats from us again. How can you feel so shameless in doing this? You may feel invincible, but let me tell you something. We are coming for you. When Democrats held a majority on the North Carolina Supreme Court, partisan gerrymandering was ruled illegal. And we're going to re-elect Anita Earls to the Supreme Court in 2026. And in 2028, we're going to kick your partisan hacks off of the Supreme Court, including Phil Berger's son. And when we do, you all are going to be out on your ass because you know that you can't win when you play fair. You wouldn't be cheating if you could win if you played fair. So heed this warning. When we're back in power, we're going to remember how you treated us.
Amy Van Wyk, followed by Matt Bullard.
Amy Van Wyk, and I'm a public resident of North Carolina and a voter of Cumberland County. I am going to have a very simple message and a very short one. It's on our state seal. It's esse quam videre, to be rather than to seem. Are we a democracy? Are we a democratic representative? Or are we not? Those are the only two questions you have to ask yourself. If you vote for this map, we are not. Are you representing the people or one in power? Which are you going to choose, the many or the one?
Matt Bullard, followed by Dr. Tanisha Dukes.
I'm Matt Bullard, a resident of Raleigh, born and raised in this state. My parents were, their parents were, and so on. I have enjoyed feeling rise in me the admiration from my fellow citizens who have spoke earlier, and I recognize in light of their comments the gross understatement and about what I'm about to say, and nevertheless, Senator Robinson has already said, and others of the citizens have acknowledged, that this is a 50-50 state. The action you consider now is for the purpose of wrenching our congressional delegation around to 80-20. It is for the purpose of stripping effectively voting rights from citizens. Compliance with the law is not the same thing as being right. What you are doing is not right. It is not for the people of North Carolina. It is fealty to a wannabe dictator president. I ask you to reject the action that you're considering today. Thank you.
Dr. Tanisha Dukes, and then next would be Cynthia Morrison.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Tanisha Dukes from Guilford County, and although I would love to stand before you today as an educator to talk about the budget or the lack thereof one, I am here discussing the state of our democracy. What you are proposing is unethical and an assault on the fair representation we deserve in our state. It is impossible to talk redistricting without the mention of race and socioeconomic demographics. You're not protecting people, you're protecting power. Let's call it what it is, an calculated effort to silence communities and erase influence, which is voter suppression. This map strips the fair representation of the Black and brown communities, not for fairness, but for control. We know that your oath is forgotten when power becomes the prize. We will remember that you sold us out. Silence is not neutrality, it's complicity, and we refuse to be complicit. Thank you.
Cynthia Morrison, and then next would be Rebecca Warren.
Good morning. My name is Cynthia Morrison. I'm a citizen of North Carolina. I've lived here for 56 years. I'm a taxpayer, a voter, a mother, and a grandmother. I'm also the proud mother of a 2016 United States Air Force Academy graduate who proudly served this nation. He defended our constitutional freedoms that allow every citizen to have a voice in their government. He didn't serve to protect a party. He served to protect the principles of our Constitution. He honorably separated last year to pursue his next mission and service in a different way. He planned to run for public office and hoped to make a positive impact. I'm beyond devastated to share that he tragically passed away from a very rare and extremely aggressive bile duct cancer in July after a short but valiant battle. A week before he left us, he asked me and our family to continue with his mission since he would not be able to. So today, I stand before you honoring my son and the oath he took and the promise I made to him. Drawing voting maps behind closed doors undermines the rights of all North Carolinians. A bipartisan poll shows overwhelmingly that 87% of Democrats, 78% of Republicans in North Carolina oppose gerrymandering. That means the people have already spoken. This is not a Republican issue. It's not a Democrat issue. It's a moral issue. It's a constitutional issue. It's a North Carolina issue. Fair maps are the foundations of fair elections. Gerrymandering is unfair. I urge you to honor your oath, protect transparency, and put the people first with fair and equal representation. Thank you.
We're sticking with this. I just wanted to come in and just for those who are just now joining us, you're listening to a North Carolina Senate hearing on newly drawn maps there. They're attempting to get at least one U.S. House district for Republicans in that state. You're hearing speaker after speaker during public comment right now speaking against the redrawing of these maps, which would be at least the second redraw in just the last few years, 2 years to be exact. This comes after President Trump publicly asked for GOP leaders in states to redraw their maps so they can get more U.S. House seats. And North Carolina's GOP communications director specifically said that they are doing this in the House and Senate so that they can support the president at the national level. So with that, I want to turn it back to this hearing that you are listening to right now, public comment in a North Carolina Senate hearing on newly drawn maps proposed in the state.
On your ridiculous and stupid attempt to silence our voices. We will not be silenced. Thank you.
Next is Liz Barber, and then it would be Gay Williams.
Good morning, Liz Barber, ACLU of North Carolina. I'm going to be very short because I think this is really straightforward. Voting is the cornerstone of our democracy. And when the party in power tries to take all of the power of the voters, give all of the power to the people who agree with them, and take it away from the people who disagree with them, they erode that. Thank you.
Gay Williams is next, followed by Ann Hemingway Favor.
Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Gay Williams. I am president of the League of Women Voters of Wake County and redistricting lead for the League of Women Voters of North Carolina. I am here to express our deep concern for your decision to reprioritize the work of the General Assembly to focus on achieving political gains rather than serving the many needs of our state. I love North Carolina. My family roots run deep here. The people of our state have many challenges. Among them, nearly 1 million North Carolinians, about 10% of our population, are about to receive notices that their health care costs are increasing by staggering amounts in some cases. They will soon have a very short window to make their choices for health insurance or decide to go without. You could be focused on that, dealing with that reality. Instead, we are here yet again to observe the accumulation of power being prioritized over service to the people. Please reconsider the needs of the people within our state instead of serving the needs of those outside of it.
Ann Hemingway Favor, followed by Shannon Halber.
It's Ann Hemingway Foyer.
Okay.
And I'm with Democracy Out Loud, as well as I'm a raging granny. I'm a grandmother, and I've only lived in North Carolina a short while. But let me assure you that I really am opposed to people acting like other people don't count. I'm not opposed to Republicans in general. I'm not opposed to Democrats or independents. I am simply opposed to the filthy rich, excuse my French, but those folks stepping on the rest of us. And that happens a lot. I've noticed recently anyway. And I feel that North Carolina supporting this felon in the White House in doing that and in sending out ICE troops to pull parents away from their children and zip tie people and the craziness that's going on. I'm opposed to all that. Thank you.
Shannon Halber, followed by Cindy Finan.
Hi, my name is Shannon Halber. I'm a resident of Clayton, North Carolina, and a United States Air Force veteran. I was born an American citizen, but I'm a North Carolina resident by choice. Really? 11 Republican seats out of 14? Is that what democracy looks like to you? That is not what democracy looks like to me. And I've been trying to understand why this honorable legislative body wants to take away the voice from North Carolinians. The only reason that I can think of that makes sense to me is that you're afraid. Because make no mistake, this bullying legislation comes from fear. First, you fear the people of North Carolina. And I don't know why. I love the people of North Carolina. In fact, I just met up with 900 of my besties in Clayton Town Green on Saturday. Second, you are afraid of President Trump. Afraid of the U.S. president just when we need you to be brave. I ask you now to please don't do this to our people. You have nothing to fear but fear itself.
Cindy Finan, and then Eric Willoughby.
I'm Cindy Finan, and I'm here to give comment from the North Carolina Red, Wine, and Blue. We are a community of nearly 40,000 women in all 100 counties here in North Carolina. We are a nonpartisan grassroots organization with members from both parties and many unaffiliated voters. We know that you are redrawing maps to protect President Trump's agenda, and it is an offense to the women in our network. No elected official should be manipulating political maps to draw safe seats for themselves or their party. Voters in North Carolina should choose their representatives in Congress. You should not be choosing your voters. The women in our community are watching, and we will be mobilizing our friends, family, and acquaintances to go to the polls to help vote out any candidate who continues to try to take away our rights and disenfranchise voters. We are in all 100 counties, and we will remember what you do today and the rest of the week. Thank you.
Eric Willoughby, and then it would be Todd Belkos.
My name is Eric Willoughby. I'm 19 years old and a sophomore at UNC Charlotte. Today is a dark day for North Carolina. People who dare to call themselves public servants are showing us who they really serve. Not the people, but Donald Trump. Republicans here in Raleigh are preparing to pass a new congressional map that is designed to hand Donald Trump another MAGA congressional district. And they are doing this while North Carolina has not had a state budget for 100 days. Rather than fully funding Medicaid, rather than raising teacher pay or doing their jobs, they are wasting precious time and taxpayer dollars, bending the knee to Donald Trump and ripping away the voice of the voters. It is shameful. It is pathetic. You are shameful. You are pathetic. I call on anyone listening to this right now. Please register to vote, get involved, and vote these clowns out of office.
Todd Belkos, followed by Alexander LaFond.
Todd Belcour, RE, social change.
Sorry.
It's no worries, no worries. It's my penmanship, not your reading. It's a privilege to be here, but it's an awful circumstance to be here. Democracy is to be ruling by the people, for the people. And there's nothing based in this closed-door legislation where no one had a chance to buy in. There's nothing about the process which, no matter what people says today, that will change anything you do or don't do. There's nothing about the process where the people impacted directly can speak up, and you still won't change an aspect of this that gives even a hint towards what democracy is supposed to be like. Democracy is supposed to be ruled by the people, but if you're ignoring the people at every stage in this process, if you're ignoring the people at every stage, even after this process, to impact the pain, that is not democracy. That is what authoritarianism looks like, and that is why we are here, not because we want to be here on a Monday, not because we don't have other things to do. It's because we are nervous, we are worried, we're concerned about the soul of this country, the soul of this democracy, and all the things that are underpinned in this bill. So please, please take a moment to consider what public comment means. The public says they don't want this. The 84% of people who vote against this in general say they don't want this, and the people who are here say they don't want this. And if you want to invite public comment, actually make sure it matters and do something differently based on what that comment represents. Thank you.
Alexander LaFond, and then Kyle Brazil.
Hello and good morning. My name is Alexander LaFond. I'm a constituent in House District 38 and Senate District 15. Let me start off by saying I don't mean any disrespect to my fellow Americans. However, I do not care what's happening in Texas, and I do not care what's happening in California. What I care about is what's happening here in North Carolina and how our state legislators and senators are representing the people of North Carolina. It's been 112 days since North Carolina was supposed to have a budget. And instead of coming here and talking about that, we are here speaking out against the redistricting which will negatively impact every single voter in North Carolina. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, it doesn't matter if you're a Republican. The attack by the federal government on the states by cutting funding. Western North Carolina still has funding withheld to rebuild from Hurricane Helene. Where is the representation for Western North Carolina? Instead, we're here talking about redistricting and putting party over country. Instead of coming here and speaking to the General Assembly about how the cost of everyday essentials and the cost of housing continues to rise and asking what your plan is to subsidize this, we're here to decry the attempt by one party to hold control of power rather than govern and represent the voice of their constituents. Shame on Republicans, and it's a stain on this establishment.
Kyle Brazil, is Kyle Brazil here? All right, that concludes our public speaking segment of the committee hearing. Are there any other comments from the members of the committee? Senator Batch.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to correct one thing, and I don't believe Senator Heiss was quoting it inaccurately because it's what WRAL said. However, the article that he referenced with regards to Democrats in the 1960s redrawing outside of a court order is actually not accurate. Interestingly enough, the New York Times article that's been archived was on July 4th of 1967, interestingly, about our independence. And what that article said is that they ordered the General Assembly to rebalance population among districts because districts under that plan had a population variance of 173%, which the court said was too much. However, the court agreed to let the plan stand for the 1966 elections if the General Assembly would revamp the lines again by July 1st of 1967. And they also go on to say that tonight's actions came 2 days after the deadline, but legislative leaders said that they believe the court would approve their new districts that only varied 4% per population. And so I just want to make a note that, again, not to Senator Heiss, but correcting the record that the WRAL article was incorrect in that it was actually court-ordered for those changes in the 1960s.
Thank you. Senator Robinson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to make a comment, you know, it is disingenuous to invite the people of North Carolina to their house in the state and not to consider what they have to say. It is very disingenuous to receive public comment, 200 pages, I believe, and not even consider what the citizens have to say. You know, I am appalled that we who represent the citizens of this state don't represent them. We really don't represent them.
Any other comments from the committee? Seeing none, is there a motion from the committee members? Senator Todd Johnson moves for adoption of the committee will stand at ease for a moment until order is restored.
Well, we're taking a moment there. As you can see that they have placed the meeting at ease right now. They paused it and they kind of briefly turned off the audio. You could hear people in the room of that hearing proclaiming their displeasure. They were calling it racist maps, right? We're talking about this effort to redraw the maps in North Carolina for the congressional seats to give North Carolina Republicans another seat in North Carolina. This would be for the second time in just 2.5 years. They redrew the maps in 2023 that went from a 7-7 split in the U.S. House, Democrats, Republican, to at that time it became a 10-14 seat with 10 Republicans and 4 Democrats in 2023. Now they want to take another seat, this being an effort that has been pushed on by President Trump, in which they have said, you have the North Carolina GOP communications director there, favorable report that they were doing this. Here we go. This could be the vote right now.
So, there's no referral to an additional committee, so all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. No. The ayes have it, and the bill passes out of committee, and thank you very much today for your work, committee.
So that map now moves on to the next phase, right? This was a North Carolina Senate hearing in which they were looking over those maps that were just introduced days ago to try and bring in one more congressional seat for North Carolina Republicans in the U.S. House. That would give them, if successful, 11 Republican seats to Democrats 3 in a state in which you heard from leaders there upon that committee and then those in the audience, a state that was 50-50 just 2.5 years ago. 7 Democrats to 7 Republicans, and now just 2 years later could potentially become 11-3 split there. And so we didn't hear anybody, Sarah. I don't think there was anyone out of at least 25, maybe 30 people who spoke that were in favor of this in that public hearing. It seemed like they were pretty adamant against it taking place. But still, here they are moving forward with a more GOP controlled their committee that moves forward to the next step. And there's going to be a House hearing tomorrow. So interesting things taking place there in North Carolina that have implications across the country there.